Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Shed, a DeKalb resident and the host of Shakira's Corner. This is a show where we discuss pertinent agenda items from the Board of Commissioners meetings with Commissioner Chakira Johnson, as well as share community updates from District 4 of DeKalb County. In addition to serving on the Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Johnson is also a member of three county committees: the FAB Committee, which handles finance, audit, and budget, the ERPS Committee, which handles employee relations and public safety, and the PWI Committee, which handles public works and infrastructure. Commissioner Johnson has five focus areas for District 4 of DeKalb County. Those are housing, infrastructure development, youth development, Memorial Drive revitalization, and services for new Americans. And today we are very excited to welcome the Director of Planning and Sustainability, Juliana Njoku. She will be joining us for a robust conversation about that department and how it relates to District 4. But before we go into a conversation between Commissioner Johnson and Director Njoku, we're going to ask Commission or Director Njoku to come on for a brief one-on-one where we can get to know her, and then we'll bring Commissioner Johnson on. So here we go. All right, Director Njoku, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you, and we would love to hear a little bit about what got you into public service and your interest in planning and sustainability specifically.
Well, I come from a family of civil servants. So I'm originally from West Africa, Nigeria. My grandfather was a part of the First Republic after the British left. So I've always been around government work. From my grandfather to my father, who was part of the first democratic regime in my country, to my mother, who served as the first woman over the International Labor Organization. So I've always had a passion for development, beginning with my work with the United Nations, just seeing things kind of grow from complete rural, even just complete destitute areas. And then I just got into this passion about planning, and not just planning in the form of the architect and the building, but actually place-based strategies and people strategies, what it takes to create the environment where people can grow and thrive. And then that took me through my education at the University of Maryland. I also went to Georgetown as well as to Harvard University studying sustainability. And my passion just kept growing as far as community development is concerned. And then after spending 10 years working for the city of Indianapolis, and prior to that working for Baltimore, I moved to Atlanta and I started working with the Atlanta Housing Authority, now known as Atlanta Housing, when they rebranded Invest Atlanta, looking at economic development's connection to housing. And then I started my career back again after leaving public service to go to quasi public service back with Rockdale County, and then with the brand new budding city of Mableton. Just it really, my expertise is really just about seeing communities grow and thrive, whether they're at the beginning stages or they're at the redevelopment stages. And I have a passion for housing and what housing means in all its level, not just for stability, but housing is a really great model for what communities are supposed to look like. And um, and then I got the privilege of really working and living in DeKalb County for many years, working out of Commissioner Patrick's district, and uh, and then I got the opportunity to serve the county that I've lived in since I've been in Georgia, which is a deep honor for me to be able to bring my skill sets to the place that I've lived. So I'm very excited to be here, and I cannot wait to see what we're going to do under this administration with CEO Lorraine Johnson.
Great. Thank you so much. That's a really great intro. And I guess the last question before I bring Commissioner Johnson on is what would you, from all the places you've served, what would you highlight as kind of unique about DeKalb County for you?
Really, the Cap County has amazing diversity, not just diversity in people, diversity in land and topography. You can actually have different experiences in DeKalb County. And many places that I've lived, there's not always the opportunity for a varying experience. from Stone Mountain all the way down to the different cities that are here. There's uniqueness. In unincorporated DeKalb, there's amazing opportunity for revitalization, connectivity, actually. Being so close to so many different flavors of counties and to be close to Atlanta, next to Rockdale. DeKalb County is a real diamond, and not just even a diamond in the rough. It's a diamond in its multifacetedness. I love the diversity of communities that are here, the international flavors that are here, that exist in our economic development and our housing communities. I think DeKalb County is sort of has the best of both worlds in many respects, where there is a place for everyone to be able to live, work, play, grow, thrive, and even retire here. And I'm always excited to be able to highlight to people as we go around DeKalb County to say this is a place where there is a diverse living, and I would say that that's very unique from all the different places that I've worked.
That's great. It's always great to hear from someone that served other places to give us kind of a zoomed out view of what's special about this place that we all love. So thank you so much for sharing that. And like I said, I'm going to invite Commissioner Johnson onto the stage here. All right. Commissioner Johnson, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning, Matt. How are you? Good
I'm
morning, Director Njoku. Good to see you.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good to see you this morning.
excited for this conversation. So I think for my first question, um, we'll start with Director Njoku. Could you describe the primary role of planning and sustainability in shaping the future of DeKalb?
Planning Sustainability's mission is to coordinate the county's comprehensive plan, zoning, development services, and business license activities with a focus on supporting businesses and economic development, as well as to create safe and sustainable communities throughout DeKalb County. So that's the line I'm supposed to give you. Here's the connective point. Our job is to be able to be the regulatory body, to look at the ordinances and connect the things that help us create consistency within the way that we um, build and the way that we license, the way that we permit, and how we are able to make our communities have a consistent framework. So diversity in what the building ends up to be, what the business ends up being, but the consistency is what we're here for. We're here to provide that stable anchor for what the ordinance is. The commissioners take a painstaking amount of time to make sure that they provide the direct ideas, the vision for each one of their communities. But it has to go, in my opinion, as a tactician, I guess, into a consistent model that allows it to be able to come to fruition. And planning sustainability is here to provide that regulatory and stabilizing, consistent way for us to be able to get sound development, great businesses, and be able to see those communities grow and thrive because we have a consistent way of maintaining it and sustaining it after the fact. So that's the statement, but that's really the role that we play in the community.
Commissioner Johnson, would you mind kind of chiming in after we got that overview from Director Njoku about how you view in relationship to the work you do, how you view the department?
Right. So planning and sustainability is kind of like the guardrails, right? For the amazing visions and great things that us at the BNC might be trying to do, or input that we're getting from our community that they want to see X, Y, Z, and whatever coming up in their community. But when we work with planning and sustainability and a regulatory side, they make sure that our great ideas can actually get done and fit into the bigger vision and planning for the county, not just our districts or just one area, but we have to look at the big picture of it all, make sure it's fitting in with the zoning, and there's certain rules, regulations when it comes to zoning that we have to follow by law. So partnering with our planning sustainability team, which is absolutely amazing. Everyone I've worked with on her team has just been a pleasure to work with. That's a really good way in which what we do as a board of commissioner when we raise our hand and vote on a zoning issue or whatever it may be, it has to be in step with what is in the rules and the guidelines. And our planning and sustainability team helps implement those items.
That's great. So, it tell me if I understand this correct. Say a commissioner says, "We want a park in this area."
Well,
Um, you all are kind of responsible for saying like, "Well, yeah, that's a great spot for a park," or, "Well, we might not be able to do it there because of X, Y, and Z," that, you all can kinda see the big picture and understand, and then maybe help rethink like a different area for a park or something like that.
Yes, Matt, absolutely. And we're also in partnership with our Parks and Recreation Department. So if Matt says that there's a great place for a park, we are going to look at the zoning to see how well it fits into the overall comprehensive plan. We're going to look about what that park means in other connected areas. That park may have a river through it that we have to now check in with WaterSend to make sure that if there's going to be play activity or sport activity there, that it doesn't contaminate our waterways. See, one piece of land is very much so connected to several different aspects of our resource chain. So, what planning and sustainability does is that we check the resource chain to make sure that that beautiful park that you're looking at is not going to have any adverse effect to any of the resource chain that we need. And we're going to connect with our departments. The Park and Recreation Department may say, yes, we've been looking at that area for a plan as well. We've made sure that it's safe to be. It's in a nice buffer area. It meets the criterias for this particular area. And then we assist the application process for the creation of that park. See, so our role comes in and says, Matt, this is a great idea. You get to dream of the vision, and then we got to go behind the scenes to say, how does it work and how
I
it work, right? You get the fun, and we get the bottom line is you get the fun, and then we have to be behind there to make sure that what's happening underneath your beautiful park does not affect any of the surrounding areas or any of the resources that we have here in DeKalb County.
That's great. Yeah, that's very helpful kinda overview, and we'll get in more into the nitty-gritty of this as we go, through this conversation, but, I'm assuming the same sort of applies to businesses, in terms of where they wanna be located and making sure that it fits with the overall kinda scheme of where we're going.
Yes, it's similar, but a business, once it's a commercial area, a business can come in there and it does have to fit with the scheme for what the area is looking for. Certain businesses have restrictions by schools or by churches. And we make sure that those restrictions are upheld for because they're there for specific reasons. But once a business is there and we don't want to stifle the creativity of economic development for a business, you know what I mean? But we also pay attention to with our economic development partners. Remember, planning is here to check the rules, but we also are also here to build the bridges for the areas that actually are looking at economic development. So with the side to cap, they may say, listen, in our economic development plan, we don't want um, for pet stores within this surrounding area, right? We may be talking about maybe there should be two here, but there might be some other great ideas for other things. Maybe there should be a grocery store. Maybe there should be something else in this area. And what we do is that we help facilitate those conversations. And when it comes time for the business to get registered as their licensing, when it comes time for their permitting, their build outs to get their certificate of occupancy, that's when we step in. So back to the fun. Matt gets to be creative and said, I want my favorite pet store here. And he has that vision. We connect him with Decide DeKalb, our economic development director here at DeKalb County, and then they get to really enjoy his vision for the new pet store that he wants. Once it's really in line with the community, Matt returns back to my department and says, I want my business license, I want my permits, here's my plan for when I want to build it out. And we support you through that so that your vision can come through. So there are many partners that are connected to planning and sustainability, and we try to be really good stewards and real good conduits and connectors for everybody's vision as it moves along. Did that
Beau Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. That makes a lot of sense. It'll probably be, something more like a studio space for me than pet store, but
A
I
podcast studio.
yeah, but, I mean, it's not too late for a career change. I like animals, so, um
So I do have a follow-up to that,
Sure,
Matt, if
please.
I can.
Yeah.
Um, so what about Dr. Njoku when s a property owner or a business owner makes application, but it's not in line with the vision, and we have to go through that process? Quite often on the BOC, we get fussed at because community like, "We don't want this here. Why are you even considering it?" Can you talk about why we have to consider every application?
Absolutely. Because in short, because we live in community. I know people, don't like to hear that, but it's also part of regulation. Building requires that it has to be in community. So if there's a business that's coming in place and the community just simply does not want it, and they express themselves to the BLC, once again, planning and sustainability is looking at the application that the business, when they applied for their business license, gave full disclosure to what they're planning to do. This is what we're planning to do. We provide that information to our Board of Commissioners. We provide it through our planning process to be able to say, this is what they're specifically trying to do. If the community does not want it and they voice their concerns why they may not want the additional pet store because they really love Matt's pet store and they don't want another one, right? That tools the commissioners to say, well, as we're looking at our vision plan, this is out of the scope of what we want for this particular area. It's not a desire to stifle business, it's for a desire for business to be in the right place, to be right place, and to be able to thrive in another area. Maybe just 4 blocks down, maybe a mile up the road. There's a desperate desire to have that exact same business there. And that's where our business and our economic development partners can provide support. So for our commissioners, whenever they get those grievances, we provide them with all the information necessary so they can make an informed decision as to why their communities might not want this specific business, whether this business is allowed within our zoning areas, what that business is bringing as far as economic development or not so, how it plays in with other community aspects, schools, churches, transportation, roadways, traffic causing. All of those things come into play when that decision is made before we inform the business which direction that we are able to go. So it's a part of the process, but the bottom line is because we live in community. And DeKalb County is taking extensive measures to make sure that our communities are fully engaged in being able to build out a place that they want to live, work, and thrive in.
Could you kinda give us a sense, with your department's focus areas in mind, what's kinda top of your list right now for this year in terms of goals that you all have?
Well, I know as the year is winding down, our primary goal in this first year of a new administration is to make sure that we get our structure right, because there's a lot that's happening. And, you need people, you need a sound process, and you need a good structure for things to work smoothly. I'm here. I've been a part of DeKalb County now. December will be the start of my 6th month, and this new administration, December would be the start of its 12th month. And our primary thing is taking what we found or what we have and making it better. Our focus right now is restructuring our planning department, looking at technology to support the planning department to make things smoother so that we can have active communication through the application process with our communities. What I've done is what I think the best thing any new leadership should do is I've been listening to, what people have said has been going well. And I've been listening to what people said have not been going particularly well within our department. In a business or in an area in government where things are always changing, we don't have the gift of the consistency of 20 years or 30 years, making the same brownie. Every 4 to 8 years, we're subjected to significant changes. And we've gone through a change right now. So what is my focus right now? Listening. What else am I doing outside of listening? Applying what I've heard into what we're trying to do for the new vision for planning sustainability. We've heard about people's feelings about the process. We've heard about people's feelings about engagement, permitting. We've heard people's feelings, our community's feelings about what we could possibly do better. And I've been working diligently with the staff here to make the appropriate adjustments, what I could do in the immediate, And then the administration has been great. Madam CEO's office has been great in us putting the necessary resources together with our BOC and our commissioners for the bigger lifts, like technology, like expansion of staff, like a look at what we're going to be investing in the years to come to continue to provide a higher grade of service so that what we just described in the areas that we're focusing on zoning, development, business licenses, permitting, and of course, sustainability, that we can actually have a plan for those things that we can actually execute on. So in these past 6 months, that's what's been my focus, strongly listening, both internal and external, and then making the necessary steps for what I can address immediately and the necessary investments and what needs to happen in the year to come.
Great. Yeah, I mean, that's incredibly important to understand what people people's thoughts are up to this point so that, improvements and refinements can be made. So appreciate that. And so kind of getting back to businesses, what do you think are some resources that your department offers businesses that they might not know about?
One of the things that I think that my department does offer to businesses is we have really good wealth of knowledge and great connectivities for businesses. Although we're here doing your business license and we're trying to make sure that you're a license, having just your Secretary of States, why can I say state? Secretary of State privileges is not enough. We need to be able to make sure that you have an active business license that's in line with what you said you have to do and make sure that you're within compliance so you can have a thriving, long-standing business. In addition to that, we've been making extensive steps to create additional partnerships in my department with the Secretary of State, with our small business development partners, to be able to next year start having some kind of forum or consortiums where people can connect to the vendor process here in DeKalb County. If you do have a business that can be listed as one of our vendors and you do need your business license to be a part of that, as well as to be connected to some of the small business grants and small business opportunities. Small businesses are the largest employers in the United States, and they need specific and direct care. And what we've been doing is revamping our business license department to make sure that we have agents that are not just well informed, but are also can provide connected resources after you register. It is my hope within the next year or so that we'll be able to talk about connected businesses in the form of community connected businesses, meaning you should know the other restaurants in DeKalb County. You should know the other people within your neighboring communities, the other pet stores within your communities. There should be a way that you should have connected community. It helps in thriving small businesses. It also helps in going after even bigger opportunities when you work in partnerships. We're really going to make an investment in internal training as well as external training opportunities for our small businesses to be able to give them an opportunity to learn more about what is available throughout the county, not just within planning and development, which does their licensing, but also with the other business community partners that can also help them with grants, funding, find them additional clients, help them with business plan writing, help them figure out how they're going to expand or grow. These are other expertise we really would like to bring eventually to what we now call our one-stop shop, which we hope will be elevating to become sort of our business and development center for DeKalb County, a real hub where information can be fully shared.
Oh, that's exciting. I have follow-ups, but Commissioner Johnson, I want to give you a chance to weigh in.
Yeah, that is exciting. So, what we hear a lot as commissioner when we're talking to businesses or we're talking to developers is a desire to see the process improved. So, I'm grateful to hear Director Njoku's already taking on that task and looking at the processes, but also taking her time, right? So, she's been here just about 6 months. I've been here almost 11, 12 months. Time's flying. Feels like it's much longer, right? Government years or months are a little faster, kind of like dog years. But it's important that we actually sit down, take our time, we listen, actively listen to what people are telling us and not just react and take immediate steps because whatever steps that we take, we want to make sure that they're actually impactful and will actually make the difference that the people are asking us to make. So I'm grateful that we have a director in place who's willing to do that work. But I'm also thankful to our community, our developers, our residents who are being patient with us while we try to make these transitions and just understand that we are hearing, everything. We're hearing the complaints, we're hearing the good things as well, but give us the time to really make those differences and make those changes.
Absolutely. And I think hopefully when people hear that those things are in place, then that'll provide a little bit of context and patience, that we're moving in this direction. So we hear you. But it
And
takes,
then
yeah.
the opportunity, like for this podcast, one of the great things that we really like about the podcast is we're able to bring a director on who can actually give information. She doesn't, none of our directors and department heads really get this opportunity at a board of commissioners meeting that they have to speak to the agenda item before them, but they don't, rarely do they get an opportunity to really talk about what's going on in their department, what their vision is, and what they're working on. So this is why I'm grateful for the podcast and that we have directors and department heads who are willing to come on and talk to us, because it gives us a way to communicate with our constituency and give them information that they may not be getting otherwise.
That's a great point, and I mean, I can speak for myself as a DeKalb resident. I'm just learning so much by getting to the privilege of sitting down with all these department heads and ask my personal questions, which is a segue to, okay, so I'm a small business owner. I love what she said, about you all serving as a resource, this one-stop shop. And I think a lot of our listeners are interested in that too. How do I make use of that? Like, is there, uh, what's the best way for me to get involved and to start those conversations, to start networking with other people that are in my industry, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the original idea when I arrived, they had created the area for planning sustainability as a one-stop shop, but there was nothing put fully into the shop. There were people there, but there wasn't, as you're not, able to connect with it yet. There wasn't anything to connect with, right? What I'm doing now is revamping that. So look out for sort of a relaunch of that, where there will be specific areas, places you should be able to. We're moving towards people being able to make appointments online to sit down and talk to somebody specifically about things that you need between licensing or permitting. We're looking to actually make that area and space usable specifically for the community's needs, for those people who still want the touch of people. But we're also making an investment in AI and in technology for those people that, their business idea happens at 2, 3 in the morning, we're not open, and they have a question. And sometimes some of the most creative things are happening at that time, right? But you still want your questions answered. You still want to know what are your steps. You still want to know what your resources are. So we're trying to take an intergenerational approach, because business has an intergenerational feel now. There are some people that they absolutely want the appointment. They want to know that they're speaking to Matt or to Juliana. They want to be able to go through their application. They want to talk about where their resources, opportunities may be. We're going to try to speak to that. And then there's somebody that says, hey, just give me the website and make it easy for me to get in, for me to read up and for me to apply and go through my process. And I love being curious enough to figure it out on my own. And we're going to try to have something for you too. At the immediate moment, we have a space in an area. So our house isn't ready yet, if I'm being frank.
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, like we said before, just knowing that it's coming, makes me really excited. And so for people to kinda stay tuned, just kinda check up on your website, that sort of thing, is that the best way?
That's the best way. We're
Okay.
definitely looking forward to a relaunch. We've just launched a Community Academy 101. I invite everybody to go through the Community Academy with the planning department. This is going to start giving you your early seeds to where you may feel comfortable plugging in. We love and look for community engagement. We've had a very active community engagement team. We just finished doing Road Planning Day this past
Yes.
Saturday. that
That
was
was
well
really
attended.
fun.
Well attended. We're trying to engage younger communities from elementary schools to the high schools. Next year, I'm hoping to bring some colleges to the table. We want people to get involved in planning. Planning is not just one individual in a a tower with a lightning bolt dreaming on everybody's behalf. Planning is a really a community engagement activity that eventually delivers to a community what they have envisioned for themselves. And so we're sort of taking that mindset and sort of that spirit back out into the community. It was so great. I have a lovely picture of these. We had a mural that you could color. It was and it was wonderful seeing the intergenerational folks that were designing a mural, their own little charrette of what they would want to see if that was their community, from trees to buildings, and how they would want it to be placed. And that was a small snapshot of the direction that I believe DeKalb County Planning and Sustainability is heading. So definitely stay tuned. We're putting in a lot of work. We're moving as fast as we can. And if you're thinking, well, maybe we've heard this before or not, let me be direct with the community that if you don't want to listen to me, just look at the indicators. This CEO and this board of commission have appointed a chief development officer, a chief housing officer. They're taking a very intentional approach to bringing experts to the table who not only do this, they teach this, with doctorates behind them, to be able to sit down and say, what can we do to make DeKalb County the best possible place for the residents that have chose to call this place home. So if you move me to the side, and I'm almost sure that you'll probably have both of them maybe as guests on this show, you're going to see the quality of individuals that are all putting their hands together in this wheel with our commissioners, and very grateful to have a commissioner that has a background in engineering that really understands in Commissioner Johnson. She comes, when we speak to her, I love her approach in being very direct in telling us and asking us a direct question that she needs, but bringing a direct viewpoint from her constituency. I'm super excited to have people that also are already connected to the planning process in unique ways. So absolutely stay excited. The best thing you could do for us right now is stay excited. Check in with us, and when the opportunity is there, take the Community 101. When we relaunch, take the invite to come and check out and see what we have heard and what we plan to deliver as an answer to what the community says that they want.
Can you talk about the Community 101? I'm really excited about these. I think we've had one, maybe two already. And I just think, me personally, I did something similar when I was on city council in Stone Mountain, where we called it Government 101, where we met monthly just to give kind of deep dive on what it means to do a budget or different pieces of government. I am always of the belief that a well-informed constituency is an engaged and happier constituency when they have the information, they really understand the process better. I just think it helps all of us. So can you touch on that just a little bit?
Sure. So we have the Community Academy 101, and this is an opportunity for our citizens to be able to get into the world of planning. The questions that you've always wondered, the who, what, where, when, and why, specifically the why. Why did you do?
Why did you even listen to that application?
Why in God's green earth, right? Is where we're at with that. Now that's the best way I could describe it for the Community Academy 101. It is your opportunity as a citizens to get to know the who, the what, the where, and especially the why. Yeah. To understand basic aspects of zoning, to understand what an ordinance means, to understand how you participate in that process, to understand what placemaking looks like and how we do it, to understand what are the steps leading up to this. Most people, they are moving at the point of when they found out about a development project. And by the time they find out, they think it's just something that just arrived. And a lot of times it's been going on for a long period of time, but they didn't understand how they could engage and where their voice could have been lent in different aspects, from the planning commission, all the way up to when the BOC is about to vote. We give countless opportunities for our citizens to be able to voice their opinions so that developers can also hear their needs, even have the opportunity to make specific adjustments that might be critical to what's coming to a neighborhood near you. This Community Academy 101 gives you a chance to say, who should I be speaking to? When I want to talk about a park, is it only the planning department? Who is the head of the parks department? What is happening in my area? And how would I find out? Where are the websites and where are the places I should know? The what is going on? How is zoning working? What does it mean for zoning laws? And what are these restrictions that are going on within my area? You know what I mean? And then why? Why is this being done? What is a future land use plan? What is our overarching ordinances? Looking at for zoning ordinances as we're updating them right now. This connects you directly to planning staff. Our Community Academy 101 is led by our senior planners. Many people that are in our planning and long range and current planning team are there, and they are there to answer your questions and to be able to give you early guidance so that, as Commissioner Johnson has said, that you can be an informed resident when you're asking the questions or even participating in the process to eventually get what you exactly want in your communities. So we're very excited. We've done 2 classes in. We're going in again next year to continue to invite the community to learn about what planning and sustainability is all about and what zoning is really means to them.
That's great, and that's a big goal of this podcast is to let people know how they can get engaged and get out there and get connected. So, best place to look for those dates and everything is on your website and how to sign up?
Yes, the best way
Alright.
to reach us is just to stay with the planning sustainability website. And I thought we've updated a couple of things.
We'll make sure to put the link on a screen and then
Yep,
also in the description so people can get more
absolutely.
information.
Yep, it's the DeKalbCountyGA.gov/planning. And I'll provide this information to you for if there's any area that you provide information to where we've put our new contact numbers. So where we have our main number, which is the 44371-2155, but then we've also been able to have the options for the different areas that you might want to speak to, from inspections to permitting to zoning to business license and to land development. So you can speak to a direct representative there. We want to be able to pick up the phones and we want to be able to answer your questions more directly. So we have a general line, but we've given specific instructions on that number for who you want to reach to. And I'll provide you with all of these to include all of the websites or the email addresses that you would need if you ever have any direct questions for our department.
Wonderful. Um,
Another good website is Engage DeKalb, right? I think that's what it's called.
Yep.
So I didn't know about that until I became a commissioner, but you guys put, well, I guess it's more when we have hot button issues. You
Oh, yeah.
guys are putting a lot of good information out there. And it's a really good way to literally engage with the cab citizens on those specific issues. So I think we got to plug that website as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Absolutely. We have a lot of different ordinances, hot button things that are happening. And once again, like I said, your best idea might happen at 9 o'clock. And Engage the Cab gives you an opportunity to go on there to research where it's at, what draft is this ordinance, provide you an email for you to reach out to staff if you have any questions or input that you would like to have. So absolutely Engage the Cab is another opportunity there.
that's great. So I want to pivot a little bit here to permitting and deferments. So can you kind of to give people an overview before they even begin that process, business owners, um, what should they keep in mind? And could you just kind of walk us through how the permitting process works?
Absolutely. So this permitting process, I love if people can hear it all the way through. I know people don't feel like this is how it goes, how it happens, but this is actually how it happens for the bell curve, right? We first start with a pre-application meeting. Right. I want to smile at that because it's critical. Pre-application meetings are critical. This is our opportunity to hear what you would like to be permitted for, what you're applying for. Then we invite you to create an account through our e-planning web portal. Now you have an account, you've had your pre-application meeting. The pre-application meeting is there to walk you through the steps before you even go and create your account. Then we invite you to gather and submit your required documents. Then that begins the review process. Our review process, depending on what you are asking to be permitting, goes through significant departments from GIS to fire to watershed to transportation. It goes through all aspects for land development to get a land development permit. After that, once your review process has been approved by all the designated areas, then you receive your approval and make your payment. I want to just take a pause moment because I know that permitting is a big thing for people's experiences. I listed out the process the way that I did because I want you to understand that in this process, there are many different things that can happen that can stop or slow down a permit, right? Pre-application meetings is not a meeting that once you've got the pre-app and everything says good at pre-app, well, you should expect your permit in 48 hours after that. No, you still have to go into and create your account. Now you've created your account. You've had your pre-application meeting. Now it invites you and says, please gather all the documents. We want to see what your site plan looks like. We want to see all the necessary documents that have been highlighted at your pre-app and highlighted when you put in your application. 2 points. Oftentimes in this particular step, this is where things change. Sometimes changes that happen are oftentimes what leads to many of our delays because they're changes. Or we don't receive the necessary documents, the documents that we need to effectively look at what you're planning to build, redevelop, expand. And at that particular point in time, we are going sort of in a back and forth saying, hey, we're waiting. We're waiting for you to submit your documents. Please submit your documents. Okay, so now you've submitted them. We finally have full documents for review. This is the point where people's point of frustrations happen because each review has to be done by each department for life safety, zoning, and regulatory reasons. Each review has to be done by each reviewing department for life safety, zoning, and regulatory reasons standard. Our desire is to make sure that you're in compliance with each one of these categories so that when you break ground, when you disturb that ground, when you're about to build, that you know that you're building with a plan that is approved, that will not cause any life safety issues, that would be within the ordinances, and that would be regulatory, that we regulated by the state. And I understand everybody's frustration. Why is it taking so long? What happened with my application? And the commissioners have to hear it all. But usually when I sit down with folks and I pull their application, it's in one of those two areas. What was said in pre-application was not what was submitted in the e-planning system. So now we didn't know you were going to build, a 3-layer deck.
Right.
Now that 3-layer deck is going through a process of review, but now we need to know that it won't collapse. So we're now reviewing for the structural capabilities, the strength of the land, what it's going to do to the surrounding areas, and even if that's permitted in our zoning code. See how those things are. Like I said, Matt gets to dream the vision, our community gets to dream the vision, and we have the role of trying to make it happen, understanding that sometimes that frustrates people along the way. But we have to play our role in the interest of life safety. We are constantly thinking about all the potential people, children that are going to be in this building or in this business establishment, 18 months from now or 2 years from now, whenever the development is completed. And we take them into heavy consideration upfront. And that's why we have this process and are really working to improve on the 2 areas that I say would be our gold standard areas, which is in our pre-application and in our consistent communication through your review process.
So for the pre-application, is that a requirement or are we going to make that a requirement?
Right now, it's not a firm requirement right now, but I'm one to make that a firm requirement if I could. I think it's the gold standard. I think sometimes a lot of people have great ideas. Some people are new to development. Not every developer that comes to the door is a seasoned developer. You know what I mean? We have people that, they've assembled a great team of contractors and they believe they're ready to roll until we start looking at their application.
Right, because we're getting people who they've purchased this great plot of land and it was a really good steel and it's never been developed. Well, there's a reason it's never been developed. It probably has environmental issues that are going to slow down the permitting process. And it's good to have those pre-application meetings so you can try and level set expectations so they know. I appreciate that my day job, I hear this as well. Well, I need to close and on XYZ date. Okay, but you just submitted last week. I can't work magic. So we have to be clear with our process so that people understand when they are making their submittals. An expected timeline, things happen, delays happen, but as much as we can, be clear and just try and again, I'm on that side, so I understand it. But as much as we can, make sure we are hitting those deadlines as much as possible. But we also need the public to be fair with us. Like if you're trying to get a large development in 30 days, let's just realize that's not realistic.
Yep. Yep. And that's what it is. We ask for a lot of fairness, you know what I mean? But I recognize that, people want a strong process. So my job is to try to make a strong process that gives you the tools up front and tries to be clear up front, especially because, nobody wants to admit, you found this great plot of land, you got a great deal on it. You and your buddies got together. You think, okay, you know what, this is going to be a 5-story apartment where, we're going to get 50 rooms in here and it's going to be great. Right. Until, but you didn't look at the development or the land the way we would look at it. You looked at the idea and the vision and the great deal maybe you were getting on it. We tried to sit down with people at the pre-application and talk about the zoning. Is it in a floodplain? How much of that land can you really build on? You know what I mean? What about your traffic? How would it egress and ingress into the streets? What are you looking at for DLT? What is your parking? You want 50 people in there. How much parking space you have? What areas you have? And when we say that, then people say, wait a minute, sounds like you're not trying to buy into my vision. All right, I feel like you're moving me away from the dream. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give you the realities of your land so that we can come up with a plan that might meet maybe 100%, maybe 80% of what you've envisioned, but it would meet it so that it meets those specific life safety, shared resources are the things that we're constantly looking at. So you're absolutely right, Commissioner Johnson. We oftentimes try to get people to have reasonable expectations. And sometimes that we win and sometimes we don't. Because everybody tells a story and sometimes they tell the story from the middle of the page, meaning I was in Florida, my friend got a permit in 2 hours and they built Taj Mahal in 30 days and why can't that work here in DeKalb County? And I'm like, I don't know if that's how it worked, but okay.
Well,
Pretty sure it didn't happen like that.
Right, and but we're fair. We hear the stories and say, okay, but here in DeKalb County, we want your Taj Mahal to stand the test of time. So,
that's what I was just gonna say. I mean, pretty much everything you listed is in the developer's best interest,
yeah.
Like, you don't wanna deal with those problems after the fact. You don't want them to become problems. It's gonna save you a lot of time and money to just slow down. It's kinda like taping the around where you're gonna paint before you paint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the prep work.
Right, the
Or it's
prep
a
work.
preferred. Yep. And some people have the patience for it. And thank you, Matt, for highlighting. And they see that, I'm not, we're in the government side of things. I'm not a part of the end deal. You know what I mean? I'm just a part of making sure that it's safe for community. We're in community. And it's also for our developers as well. I don't want your lawsuits. I don't want your company to have a bad brand. I don't want people to hear, oh, when so-and-so's coming to build, all their developments fall to the ground. I don't want that for you.
Yeah.
I don't want to participate in that for you. I would love for you to maintain your standard and your brand, and I'm trying to keep it to what is standard here in the state of Georgia and in DeKalb County. Simple. But it's in government, it's people, personalities, and processes that you're always balancing all the time. And sometimes some people don't have the patience for it. And we recognize that, but we still hold the line because As Commissioner Johnson knows, she's a part of a county that has almost 780,000 people in here. She wants to make sure that all the ones in her residence with um, her surrounding other commissioner district areas, everybody in DeKalb County deserves quality, and we all impact each other. A bad news in one area could be bad news for other areas. We're interconnected, and so we have to pay attention to those things. Love our developers. We want to see you succeed, but we have to pay attention to the communities that you're coming through. They have people there too. So that's what we're trying to do. And it's not an easy road, but the pre-application meeting, as well as going in and making sure that we have clear communications through our review process, I believe is going to give us a stronger standing, if not the gold standard of being able to get high quality projects through that we know will stand the test of time.
No, that's great. I appreciate that. Do you have 5 minutes for one last question,
Sure, sir.
Director? Okay. Thank you. I know we're at time. I want to be respectful, so that's why I asked. But I do really, I'm really curious to hear for both of y'all what if if you could envision what the next 5 or 10 years could look like. What do you see
Could look like for DeKalb or for planning.
for DeKalb as a result of planning? What role? Yeah, what role you all could play in building a better DeKalb?
Great question. If I'm being ambitious for just this
Be
brief time,
ambitious.
if I'm being
Yeah.
ambitious for this 5 minutes, um, I get upset a little bit. I'm going to be candid because I don't think the cab gets its due for what I said earlier on. I think the cab is it's a true diamond with a lot of facets to it. And if I was being ambitious over the next 5 years, I'm hoping that my planning department and all the other departments that are working just as hard will help in turning around that reputation. I think that the cab oftentimes gets a lot of bad ambassadors at the microphone. And a lot of great things that are happening with the cab don't always get celebrated. They're great, high quality people here, lovely homes to live in, beautiful parks, wonderful areas, international communities, diversity, a culture that's rising, an active community of good people. I've yet to go to anything happening in DeKalb County and really felt any major danger. I think that this is a wonderful place. And if I'm being ambitious, I would say that I'm hopeful that the Planning and Sustainability Department would join in with this administration and this BOC to turn our reputation 100% around to continue to shine the light on the cab. I want to see a DeKalb where you get to see all the facets, not just when things go wrong, but really all the great things that exist here in this wonderful county. I think the cab has a lot to offer in many different ways and it is offering it, but I don't think that we always have the best ambassadors at the microphone. So what Planning Sustainably wants to do is to do our part. We want clear communication. We want a smooth process. We want to celebrate our businesses. We want to celebrate our developments. We want to educate our residents to make mini planners if we can, because as Commissioner Johnson said, good information, informed citizens make great advocates. And eventually, I'm hopeful that would make great ambassadors for DeKalb. I think DeKalb deserves that. And I feel like if we get the right ambassadors really talking about the wonderful place that is DeKalb County, I think it's infectious enough to make our residents feel really proud about what we do about DeKalb County government and what we can do together to not just make our communities great for today, but make it great for our children's children. And so therefore, I'm committed to that. So ambitiously, that's what I want to see. I want to see DeKalb County have the high quality ambassadors and the high quality viewpoint that it deserves because it is truly a diamond.
Great.
I would agree with that. I think it's very important that, you know, in the past, quite often, and maybe, we had earned a lot of that. We had so much negative press, but in the last, I don't know, 10 years or so, we've really turned that corner. We're riding the ship. I think our former CEO got us on really good footings so that now CEO Lorraine Cochran Johnson, as well as this current board of commissioners and our current leadership and department heads and directors can really continue to grow and progress. I think it's very important that we take control of our narrative and really, as Director Njoku was saying about who's at the mic, who's telling the story, right? We need to tell our story. We need to tell the true story, the full faceted story. We get on the news for negative things, and quite often we're not getting on the news for the good, many, many good things that we are doing here in DeKalb County. It's important that we take every opportunity to just, to our own horn, really highlight all the great things that we have going on. Are we perfect? No, of course not. But we recognize that we're growing. There's always room for growth, and that we're just doing our best to give really good products and services to our constituents. And I feel very excited about our future and where we're going. I think we have a lot of good things in place right now that you're going to see a lot of growth in the next few years. And it's really exciting time to be part of DeKalb County.
Well, great. That's a great note to end on. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Thank you, Director Njoku. I learned a lot, and I'm excited to get engaged. And we'll make sure to put all those links in the description so folks know where to keep up and to reach out.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Matt, for inviting me on the show. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. I always love
being
talking
here.
You know what I mean? Thanks for all the staff that's helped put this together. I'm really privileged to be working at this time with Commissioner Johnson, with the BOC, with Madam CEO Lorraine Cochran Johnson and her staff there. I think the CAB is going to be pleasantly surprised in what we're going to do next. So mission possible.
Mission possible.
That's
One
the
DeKalb.
Oh,
and mission possible.
and Commissioner Johnson, you want to take us out with how folks can reach out to you?
Sure. If you have any needs or questions, please email me directly at shakira@dekalbcountyga.gov. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram under the handle at Commissioner Chakira Johnson, or we are also on Blue Sky or X, or formerly Twitter, as at Commissioner CJJ. Please also consider subscribing to the YouTube channel right here. If you do find this podcast helpful and you want to know whenever a new podcast is released, just remember to hit the bell icon so you can receive those notifications in the future. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you both. We'll see you soon.
See y'all.